Hello, and welcome back to the Have We Made It Yet podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, the comedian Josh Yang. I don't know why I left the pause right there, but it's all about timing. You got to leave suspense, you got to build tension. But that's the comedian's job. But I'm the comedian Josh Yang.
And I'm the actor Lucas Ng. And I do kind of find it funny. It's like 40 plus episodes in, you still want to leave some kind of tension or like suspense between you and your name. It's kind of funny that 40 plus episodes in, we still do that.
You know, we got to approach each episode like it's the first episode, that somebody's watching, because most likely, based upon our stats, it is the first episode. Most people will watch. But you know what? That's not why we do this. We're not doing that. No, we're doing this because we enjoy the process, and that's all we're talking about. But hey, you know what, Lucas? I feel like I got to ask you then. Have you made it yet?
Oh, too soon, Josh. No, I have not made it yet. Auditions are picking up again, and I do have an audition right after this. It's a self-tape audition. Nice. In which the script asks me first, cry, and then 2 lines later, cry harder.
Ooh, cry harder.
Yeah. So I need to come into this audition hot. And if also not to backtrack on your introduction that you just put out there, but for our first-time listeners who you did say, this is the podcast where 2 creatives talk about the process of making it. And sometimes they also have amazing guests too, which we will showcase in a little bit. But Mr. Josh Yang.
Yes.
Have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. I haven't. No, I mean, if you think about all the ingredients it takes to make something, I feel like I know what they are, but it's still a process of time, right? So in that element, I have not made it yet. But hey, you know what? I do want to announce kind of like a goal, an objective of mine over the next month with my other podcast, the Sleep with Josh podcast. It's the sleep aid podcast that I have, where I read boring things in my monotone voice because I can't help it. It's just who I am. So basically, I had this idea for a joke that on Valentine's Day, I would release an episode where I read the Kama Sutra.
Wow.
And it would be like a joke because it's Valentine's Day. And the fact that I'd be releasing it and the episode number would be episode 69.
Yeah.
So I got episode 69, Valentine's Day, Kama Sutra. It's just a bunch of, sex jokes one after the other.
Yeah.
But the mere fact that it's also like a monotone podcast is supposed to be funny. Problem is, I'm on episode 51 right now. So in like a month, I need to put out 17 half-hour podcasts in order to make that. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but that's one of those blitz goals that I've got for.
Do you have the stamina, Josh?
I don't know. Hopefully, after reading the Kama Sutra, I will. So that's one of the goals. But hey, I feel like we've given enough of an update of ourselves. I feel like we got to get to our special Double Jeopardy. R.I.P. Alex. Double Jeopardy, double guest podcast today, and to introduce our guests. You know what? It's an interesting path that brought us together. They are a hip hop duo out of West Hollywood, part of the same talent collective called One Studios that our previous guest rapper from LA, Content, is actually a part of. And yeah, like once we put out our episode with Content, we got on the radar of these guys and we got connected. And you know what? This whole podcast is all about getting to know different artists, different comedians, actors, their process of making it. And the more people we can talk to about it, the more texture, more perspective we can get. So we're very excited to talk to these 2 guys from who are hip hop artists out of West Hollywood. They've been featured in Voyage LA Magazine, Rap Genius, and Hype Machine, and they're actually just released their first collaborative project together. It's an EP called Run On Sentences. We're very excited to welcome rappers Ibeshocker and Kevvie3TM.
Woo!
Yo, what's up, you guys? Thank you for having us on here today. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man, it's great to have both of you guys on. This is our first dual podcast, so we'll see how we're able to manage our whole fucking Zoom hellscape that we're all stuck in now.
So many thoughts all at once.
Yeah. And yeah, but like it's great to have you guys here. And hey, before we begin, we got to ask, have you guys made it yet? So Ibeshocker, I'll start with you first. Have you made it yet?
You know what? No, we have not made it yet, but we're damn well on the journey. For sure, 100%. This past year alone, the past 7 months, Kev and I, and content even, everybody in Open Studios, we've just been so locked in, so self-sufficient, and just been able to deliver quality music, And I'm just super hyped up. I'm excited, man. This project's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like, it takes a lot of different milestones to feel like the work you're putting in is getting there. I don't know, for you as well, Kevvie3TM Kev, how do you feel about like, the making it process? Do you feel like you've made it yet?
Wow. I think it's definitely a long journey, but I like what you said, Josh. You had said it's like ingredients. And I think that's a good way of putting it, because like it's along the way you have these little victories, these small ingredients that you keep adding, and it's just building and getting better. And I think like the more that you add that and you continue on that path, inevitably you're going to end up with a final product of being at your destination. And then, when that happens, obviously, then it's another destination, so It's the journey always going to continue. Whether or not I'll ever feel like I've made it, I don't know. But every day I have a different goal and a different objective of things that I want to accomplish. And, the group of people that I'm surrounded by, I think we're all on that journey together and have a similar mindset. So, yeah, I think we're on our way, but long ways to go for sure.
There's beauty in the journey. The journey is everything,
Absolutely. And it's kind of like, if I can I guess offer a certain element there from like, say, a comedy perspective as well, it's like I feel like a lot of comedians, once they get to a stage where they're recognized as famous, Chris Rock, those big names that like, or like Kevin Hart as well. I guess I'm not gonna say necessarily call out like Kevin Hart specifically, but like it's interesting how sometimes when comedians, when they start up, like when you're grinding, that's kind of where you get the most kind of inspiration. You put out some of your best shit, when you're grinding. And then sometimes when you make it and then afterwards, you kind of lose that perspective a little bit, I guess. And like, looking back nostalgically on the periods of time that you're grinding, like a lot of artists would say that is like the best time, when you were doing it. Like, I guess asking both of you on that same path, like, is there something about like how you guys are grinding now that you're getting a lot of like fulfillment out of, and like there's a moments where you recognize like, oh, this is actually the time in my career that is like some of the best moments?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like just us being able to work together so often and just be on the same page, like we hype each other up so much. Like Kev will help me on a song, I'll help Kev on a song, content will make a beat, we'll like sit together, write like video treatments on how we want to visualize everything, and it's dope, man. Like I definitely feel like us like being so close knit as like homies and artists and musicians, and still having like all these pieces available to us, like people that do photography, people that do videography, that just all like want to become part of this bigger picture. Like it's just so dope, like having people around us that just fill every role,
Yeah, I'd second that. I think that's a great way of putting it. Every person that's in the group, like I feel like they each have a role and they bring something to the table. And not only just that, but myself and Shock, like we come from Northern California and Ceres, California to be exact. And it's a smaller city, and there's not a whole lot of culture diversity within like entertainment, I would say. So for us to kind of have that goal out of a small city with big dreams and take that to a place where you may feel like a big fish in a small pond here, but whenever you go to LA, you realize that, you feel like you're a minnow around sharks. So the growing process for just survival and just keeping your name in some type of light and circulation within topics and conversations, you have to just grind every day. Like, I can't say there's a day we take off, because even if it's a day where we're like, hey, we're not going to record today, we're still writing ideas. Like, it's like, hey, like one of the homies like sent a beat pack, and it's like, okay, let's go through and figure out who's going to do what. And so I think it's just that constant grind to some degree. It's great to have that close group of people that are all doing the same thing and bring something special to the table. So
That's awesome. Shock, you had mentioned in like your bios and everything like that your mom was one of your first influences. Yeah. How has your family pushed you into having like a music background and also into where you are now?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So my mom, she was always a singer in like her church, right? So she would be like out all day long singing, and she'll come back home, and then like first thing she does is go straight to practice. Like, she'll bring out her piano, she'll just start like humming melodies and then playing notes, and I just thought it was so dope. And so that kind of showed me that it was good because it exposed me a lot to music, you know what I'm saying? So like being around her, and then also my older sister as well. My first musical influences were actually rock music, not even hip hop. So like my older sister, she would bring home like these rock albums like Linkin Park, Green Day, Blink-182, like all that, and I love that shit. That shit was so amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like from there it spiraled onto writing poetry. Being exposed to music in my household led to poetry, and then poetry led to, hip hop. I just fell in love with hip hop after I listened to like Mac Miller in like 2010. Like that was the turning point for me. But my parents actually weren't always like supportive of, chasing after this crazy dream or whatever you want to call it. But they saw that no matter what, like as I grew older and older, because I started this out when I was like 14. Right now I'm 24. So they saw like with every single year that passed by, I'm still talking about the same thing. I'm still out here doing the same thing. They asked me like, "Oh, why are you out late at night all the time?" I'm like, "I'm recording at the homie's house, you know?" So like eventually like they started seeing like, okay, like no matter what we tell him, like he's still gonna do it. So we might as well just get on board. And then since then, they've been amazing. Like they've supported me so much. They've been hyping me up. They're the ones that convinced me I should move to LA, actually, which is wild. I never expected that to happen, but here we are.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, like a lot of, yeah, definitely every artist's background in terms of like relationship with family is going to be kind of a mixed bag. But to a certain degree, like when you talk and you put out your music and your art, you can only really reference a lot of the stuff from your upbringing, and that kind of influences your music as well. I'm wondering for you, Kev, like what kind of inspirations as like a kid or like growing up has kind of influenced your approach to your style?
It's I think more so now with all the music that I've been making kind of shows more in depth of my inspirations growing up. I had like everything kind of being played as a kid. Like my grandparents was like country, like like old country, and like my father is like really into like blues and classic rock. And one of my first shows to memory is going to see BB King, Al Green, and Buddy Guy, and like that was that was incredible. I'm seeing these legends that were obviously past their prime, I guess you would say, just older men, but they could gather thousands of people, and they would sit there and just like appreciated everything they had to say, and it all had a story and a deeper insight to what they were saying. And the same thing with just classic rock. Like I'm a huge like Eagles fan and Tom Petty and so on and so forth. Like I have the Eagles right here, Life in the Fast Lane, and Hotel California on my thumb. So that's like a whole, thing to that, and Hotel California being as deep of a song as it is. I just draw inspiration from that and wanted to implement that into the music that I make. And my mom was like Shock's, my driving force of never giving up on what I wanted to do. But from the beginning, she always pushed me to just go after it. And like he said too, I mean, poetry, I feel like is I talk to different artists, and that usually is the base point of where they start getting interested in this, and then, you know, throwing it on a beat and then turning it into rap, I guess. And just implementing my story in my life and what I've gone through. And with the beats that I've been doing lately, it ranges from like guitar to acoustic, and then some more heavier hip hop side. And yeah, I just don't ever want to box myself to be one like specific thing, but always stay true to myself throughout that. And I think I've been able to maintain and establish that from the support that I've had of just being me and going after what I want. So
Yeah, no, totally. It's like I agree in terms of like the variety of, you know, your inspirations. Like you never know exactly where it's going to take you. Like essentially in kind of these passion careers, passion driven type of goals, it's like you can technically apply any of your experiences to them, right? Like irregardless of where they come from.
Yeah, that's I think what's going to make the best music is living life and experiencing life, and not looking at your hardships as a negative thing, but a driving force to like create something better for yourself. And if you're able to articulate that into your art form, I think people will resonate with that beyond just your friends and family. It can touch every corner of the world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of influences, Shock, I want to talk to you about one of your tracks, Die For You, which is a great track. It kind of reminded me, especially the drum track, kind of reminded me of a started from the bottom feel to it and everything like that with the open hi-hats. For our Canadian listeners, do you have any Canadian influences that you like?
I mean, you said it right there, my boy, Drizzy Drake. Actually,
Nice.
There's a lot of Canadian artists that I really, really love. Like Drake, of course, is amazing. The Weeknd is the most phenomenal singer I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. The Weeknd's music videos are insane. I don't know if you've seen the latest ones, like with Blind Pipes and Heartless and like that whole era. Like that was crazy. But apart from those two, those are the two big ones. There's a lot of like underdogs from over there as well that like have influenced me. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of like Wonder Girl, or I mean Boy Wonder is like popping.
Yeah.
Boy Wonder, there's Boy Wonder and there's Wonder Girl. So Boy Wonder, like he's obviously a big Grammy nominated producer and stuff. But Wonder Girl, like her production style is like insane. It's so different. It's so low key, and it's just like it's dope. Like if y'all never listen to any of her stuff, definitely go check it out. Yeah, I love Canada, man. I had a layover in Canada for like 2 hours one time. I was flying to Amsterdam, so that was cool. Like I never really left the airport, but I saw the needle. Does that count?
Yeah, it counts. It's a part of it. It's a part. It's like, if anything, Drake managed to do a pretty good job of really like promoting the city, like because we're both, Lucas and I are both in Toronto right now, and like the CN Tower is very much, you know, an iconic imagery.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm also wondering, I guess, like because you guys did, you know, make the move from kind of small town California, right? It's one of those things where it's like you want to push yourself to go to where the action is. Like, you know, you can't like stay there, because like I kind of had that same feeling just in terms of my life as well, moving out to Toronto. Like I knew I couldn't stay home, I wouldn't grow, and like I kind of see I'm getting the sense that that's how you guys felt. Like how was making that decision and like the actual process of doing it, you know, because like sometimes people can say like I'm gonna do it, but then like how was the actual doing it part for you guys?
Man, it was very hard. It was like so I was going through a breakup at the time too. It was like the end of a 3-year relationship, and so pretty much in summer 2019 I actually had an internship out here in LA. I was working at an artist management company. And the guy that I was working under, he was the guy that discovered Meghan Trainor. Nice. I was working under him, and I spent the summer here in LA living in East Hollywood for 2 months. And I was like 23 or something like that, but I got to see a lot of the ins and outs of the music industry while doing that internship. And I was running into people that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Max Martin is. He's like one of the most famous songwriters and producers ever. He did everything. He did Backstreet Boys. He did like NSYNC. He did Britney Spears. Like it's insane, his catalog. But it was crazy because his office was right next door to where my internship was. So I would always just see him pull up in his Ferrari like nothing, and it's just like it's just right there. And it was like me being from a small town, I'm like, yo, like these people are just literally right in front of me. Like everything I ever want to be in life, like be successful from doing music is right in front of me. And living in LA now, like I see that even more. Like going up and down Melrose. That's why we wrote the song Melrose Blues together.
Mm-hmm.
Because Melrose is a very iconic street in Los Angeles. Like you'll see all walks of life there. You'll see famous people. You'll see A-list celebrities, B-list, C-list. Like it's crazy. And us, like our studio is literally around the corner. So like it was, we wrote Melrose Blues because it's like, man, we're so close to success. We could taste it. It's literally right there. If you walk down right down the street, you're gonna see success right in front of you. So that's like kind of like what drove us to make that song. But to answer your question, like making the move out here was hard. Like I didn't know a single person here. It was like I was going through a breakup. I had no money. I got here on February 17th, 2020. 2 weeks later, we get hit with a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I literally moved here and I had a job lined up. I was supposed to do like substitute teaching, to pay my rent. Meanwhile, I still do music on the side. But then school's closed. So it's like, okay, now what the fuck do? I just signed a 1-year lease. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But thank God for unemployment and EDD. So that's what's kept me floating. But apart from that, like making the move here was hard because it was like leaving behind everything I knew my whole life. I never left my small town like ever until I made that move. And I feel like after I moved here, it was just like I've matured so much. I grew so much. I met a lot of people, and I ended up making way better music than I did when I was back home. Just because I see the people around me over here, and it really just pushed me. And I don't know, it's been awesome. Like I love it out here in LA, and Kev loves it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like just the whole glitz and glam, aura of LA is something like you just can't help but kind of get engrossed in even just being there. Kev, how was that move for you as well?
I was, I could say a little bit different. I didn't experience some of the hardships of the transition as Shock. I had came out there as a third party. He already had his roommates and his like buddies he grew up with that got the place. So I was working a job that I wasn't too fond of, and it was starting to play a toll on just my overall happiness of like knowing what I need to be doing and then making like a sacrifice to have income. And then especially during the pandemic, it just, I don't know. I felt like for myself, I knew where I needed to be. I mean, my first show when I was 19 was in LA. I'm 27 now. So, from that moment and having that experience, it was just like as an artist, that could kind of puts fuel to the fire of just being like, yo, that's where I need to be. And from me developing a really good relationship with Shock and us working together, even from back home, he was just like, hey, you need to be out in LA. Like you need to be out in LA. So he had came to my house up north, and we started writing a song in my living room. And before he left, he was like, now you got to come to LA to record it. So I was like, all right. So anyways, long story short, I hit him up one night and I was like, hey, like, how serious are you about all this? Like how, like, and he was like 100%, I'm all in. I was like, all right. Called him 10 minutes later. I put in my 2 weeks at my job and I was like, I'm on the way. So since July 7th, I've been back and forth to LA, making an album. Me and him finished our collaborative album as well as my solo album, did a bunch of features, connections, just working with a lot of awesome people, which is how I was fortunate enough to become such good friends with Content, was just being out there around like-minded people. So I would say like I typically like, it may not be like mentally healthy, but like I think I like having my back against the wall. I like being the underdog. I like having, I think maybe just upbringing wise, like I like having things to overcome. So making that decision to leave comfort for what's going to genuinely make me happy was the easiest decision I could have made, you know.
Wow.
That's a great point there. I did want to talk about, yeah, you already mentioned it, Shock, when you mentioned Melrose Blues. I think it's a great track that really speaks to a lot of artists. You know, it's basically like seeing success on others while you yourself are pursuing success. Yeah, I'll ask you later, Kev. But for Shock first, how would you define success?
I would say success is waking up every day and being happy with what you have to do that day.
Mm.
I feel like for me, for music, if I can just make music and have enough money to pay my rent, pay my bills, and not worry about paying the delivery fee on Postmates, then I made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need freaking 30 Ferraris or anything. I just need to be able to do what I love, make enough money to where it's like I'm good, and I like be able to perform and do shows with people that also connected with the music. Because I think like that's a super important part of being an artist. Like it's different when you're in the studio and you're making a song and you and your homies are getting down to it. But then once you hear that song on like these big ass freaking speakers and it's like 250 people in the crowd and they know the words and you're just like, yo, we did something, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what success is. That's when it's like I feel like people think success is millions of dollars, all these women, freaking crazy cars, but nah, success is just like just doing what you want to do and making enough to live comfortably. Like that's it.
I hear that, man. I totally hear that. The moment that, like, say, Josh and I get to do our craft and not have to worry about paying the bills, I think we've made it substantially. For you, Kev, how do you define success?
I would say it's not too much different than what Shock said. Excuse me. Success is genuinely just is financial freedom as well as being able to pursue what you love. I mean, like I still have my 2000 Chevy S10 with 150,000 miles on it. That thing barely fucking makes it through the grapevine on the way to LA. But that's my baby. For me, like even with
Yeah.
a big check, like I don't think that would change for me. I genuinely love to invest whatever I have back into the music, and whatever financial stability that brings me, that's great. And you know, and knowing that you can take care of your family and provide for yourself, like that's always great as well. Materialistic things are like the least like thing on my mind or what I want for myself. It's more or less just waking up around people you can trust, which, you know, like genuinely that's hard to find, you know, sometimes. And when you have that and that comfort and knowing that everybody has your best interest and you're able to like continue to grow every day, like that's success.
Yeah. And I feel like there is like a weird maybe blend, even though like maybe like we should be separating them between like the material versions of success and the like the artistic versions of success. And I feel like that's something that like every individual artist has kind of those goals as well, you know. Like for you, Kev, just to continue, like what would you say is like a cool or kind of an objective artistic goal of yours that you want to accomplish?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have a lot of different goals, like you know, just continue to make good music and grow like that way. I mean, like that's kind of, I don't know. I mean, obviously like there's ideas of wanting to like be able to get signed and be able to tour the world and be played on the radio, and my family be able to play my music and be, you know, so excited to hear me like on the same radio they grew up listening to. So I think those like are goals of mine. I don't know, Shock, like he pointed, I don't know if do you have something that I'm not thinking of?
For you,
What's up?
the full circle story.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, I'll try and say this briefly because it's like kind of like an exhausted story if I was to tell it from the whole point. But when I was young, I was given the opportunity through Make-A-Wish because I have a lung disease through Make-A-Wish to meet somebody that I idolized, and that was Pharrell. So when I was 17 years old, I got flown to Miami. I got to go in the studio with him, and that was like a crazy pivotal moment. I got to like rap for him. He played me like music and all this stuff. So that for me, you know, he told me, he's like, when you get back, like get into a studio. So that was like my goal. Like when I got home, I immediately like called around, found out where like the little studios were and all this and that. I finally got into one. And then like through everything that's happened in my life, that was like a huge driving factor of why I never quit. Cause I was like, one day I want to meet him again and be like, yo, like I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no,
that's a huge one for me.
that's a big one. That's definitely like, I feel like the way we are as kids, like you'd be surprised how like just the littlest thing, or like meeting Pharrell, it's not a little thing, but like
Right.
you never really know what is going to be something that like really inspires a kid to go down a path. And
Yeah.
it's like I couldn't imagine a better like you said, Shocker, like full circle type of experience artistically, to go from like having been inspired as a kid and then going over like being able to work with one of your idols. I don't know, for you, Shock, do you have like an artistic kind of image or goal or like experience in your head that you want to like experience?
I mean, I would say apart from just, you know, making a living off making music and being successful, I would say working with some of my idols. There's a lot of people that I grew up always being a fan of. Like, I would love, this will probably never happen, but who knows? I would love to have a song with Sublime. I don't know if you guys know who Sublime is, but
Yeah.
they're dope,
Yeah.
super dope. Sublime, like, I love that. Logic, Russ, Fora, Black Bear. Yeah, like those are like, oh, Kyle, Jaden Smith. I don't know if you know like Kyle, and they're a little bit like more underground, but yeah, like I grew up listening to them, and it just really like shaped my style, I feel like. So I would love to have songs with the people I grew up listening to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I guess for like comedians, it kind of just be like sharing the stage with like being on the same show as another comedian you idolize.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome, right? Just be up there sharing the space with somebody you idolize. Like,
No doubt. I also did mean to ask you guys. You guys have an upcoming EP coming out, which is incredibly exciting. Coming out tomorrow, right?
I actually,
yeah.
Oh, okay,
9
okay.
p.m. tonight.
9 p.m.
Which
Gotcha.
I don't know what that is for you guys. I don't know the time gap, but
Yeah, I guess, well, I mean, this is getting released on a Tuesday, so technically it's already out and it's great. So
Yeah. Of course, you guys came from different paths. You guys are separate artists, but of course collaborating together. I'm just wondering how you guys came together and how making music was together for both of you.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll jump on this one just because I have I think the story would make sense if I say my side of it first, and then he could kind of like capitalize on that. Yeah. I'm a little bit older than Shock, and I've been making music out here and knew who like Shock and AG and all the younger homies were just from mutual friends that like went to school with them and stuff. So, you know, from where we are, you just want to like always show love to the people that are just trying to chase the crazy dream that you're chasing. So that was kind of how like it all was like formulated, and like a mutual friend of mine told me to audition for this cipher that Shock was putting on through the Stan State College. It's called the Cipher Factory, and I believe it was correct me if I'm wrong, Shock, but I think it was the third one that they were doing. Was it the third? Yeah. And
Volume 3.
so I submitted, and then the Shock was actually a part of that as well as putting it together. He performed in it. So that's kind of how like it all like started. And then me and him were like, hey, we should like do something together, just, you know, some separate stuff, like just make a song. So that's kind of how it happened. I would like send stuff his way out in LA, and then back and forth. And when we landed a song, did a video to it, then that well, the reaction we got was like, hey, like, yo, you guys should do like an album together, like a project. So me and him were like, that's not a bad idea. Like, we have different styles and sounds, and my pattern and flow pattern and word choice is obviously different than his, which I think makes the collaboration very unique, because in some way, like, it meshes well together. And I guess that's obviously a blessing, you know, to be able to effortlessly put together a song where we just sit down and we're like, hey, we both like this beat, let's just write to it and see what happens. And for the most part, that's how the album came together. And you know, the other part of the story I said earlier, where the conversations got deeper, like, hey, you need to be out here, obviously that was something I knew I needed to do. And then once I walked in that front door of the studio, I mean, we immediately, is every day was like another song, or tweaking things in production, and having other producers come in like content and just amplify it and make it better and bigger. And another one of our buddies that's on the production, which is Deduction, and he's from up north as well, and he has a song on there, Locked In. So it was, and then I talk in Locked In, I talk about the story. I said, like, I got a call from a homie, and like, I told him, like, he said I should be down in LA. 10 minutes later, I hit him and told him I put in my 2 weeks and I'm on the way. So that was like I was a bar that was like off of real life. So that was like that was a good way to cap off the album, was like telling the story of how I got there. So yeah, that's my side of it anyways. But
that was a great first track to it too, because like you saying that line is like a great intro as to how this whole project even happened.
Yeah
Absolutely. Like, from your perspective now, Shock, how did you guys come together then?
Yeah, so I was working at the radio station at my college that I went to back in Modesto. Well, the college is in Turlock, which is like a neighboring city. But so I was working at the radio station over there. I was the music director, and I was also a radio broadcaster. So I had my own like radio show, and I would, you know, announce music and all that. So I had an idea, because I knew there was a lot of potential in the area that I was from. There's a whole bunch of hidden gems that are just like super talented hip hop artists. And the area where I was from, they're more so like focused on indie rock and like rock bands and stuff like that, which is dope. But there wasn't much for hip hop artists over there. So I decided, like, hey, like, I work at a radio station. I have this platform. Like, why not do something for the artists, you know, that don't get the recognition? So like I talked to my boss at the radio station, and then he gave me the green light. He's like, yeah, you could do it, but you're in charge of it. You have to do everything for it. And I was like, oh shit. All right. And then I asked him, hey, can I get a budget? He said, no. I was like, all right. Okay, I guess we're going to pull this off. So what I did was I got together like a team of people. Deduction was on the team. He's the producer. He produced Locked In on Run On Sentences. So Deduction, he was the first person I got. I was like, hey man, like, I want to do hip hop ciphers where artists just come together. They don't know each other at all. They just get one beat, and you get to see all the different ways you can flow on this one beat, right? And then I told Deduction my idea. He's like, yo, that's dope. Like, let's do it. And the Deduction, he's like, hey, I have a friend that's a videographer. He goes by NTR Visuals. Like, maybe he could shoot the video for it. And I was like, okay, like, bring him on. Let's talk to him. And then we brought him on. And then now NTR Visual, he still shoots our videos today, like our music videos and stuff.
Right.
He shot the Die For You video too. Yeah. So after we got NTR Visuals, there's another last thing we needed. So back then, I did not know how to do mixing. I did not know how to do mastering. I didn't know any of that. But now I do. But back then, I didn't. So I was like, okay, I need an audio engineer to engineer this whole thing. So I found another guy in one of my communications classes, and he was in the audio engineering program. And I was like, yo, the stars aligned, man. What's good? He goes by Noir Kami, but his name is Christian. So I got Christian, Deduction, and NTR Visuals. I told them, like, hey, like, let's do this cipher thing. Pretty much, I stalked IG, I stalked Twitter, wherever I could find people that were doing hashtags with, like, the city I'm from, and then, like, independent artists hashtags or whatever. And I found a whole bunch of people, like a whole bunch of artists. I DM'd all of them. And then we did 3 different cipher versions. So we did volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. Each video has its own like setting that it took place in. Like Volume 1 was like a abandoned classroom. Volume 2 was like in the barber shop in Turlock, and then Volume 3 that was the one Kev and I met each other on, and we both performed on Volume 3 together. That's how we met each other. But Volume 3, we shot that in the library of the school the day that they tore the library down. Like they
Oh,
bulldozed
really?
that shit literally after we left, which is wild. So like Volume 3, you see like this empty library with all these bookshelves, but no books on them. So it was dope that like we got to be the last people inside that building to shoot a freaking music video, and then just walk out, and then that shit get bulldozed. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, that's how I met Kev through the ciphers. He was one of the artists that I reached. Did I reach out to you, or did you DM me for the cipher?
No, I believe you reached out, and then Steezy, Air Steez also hit me up too and was like, "Yo, you should submit."
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of me and you started talking, and you were like, "Hey, just here's the beat. Put together a little something and then send it in." So that's what I did. And then sure enough, we were like, "All right, so let's make it happen."
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
And after we shot the cipher video that day, pretty much all the artists left already, but Kev stuck around, and he came with us to like go out to get some sushi or something afterwards. And I thought that
Yeah.
was dope because everybody else did. You know, he was the only one who was like, "Hey man, like, you know, let's talk, let's socialize, let's network, or whatever you want to call it." And I thought it was cool. And then ever since, man, like he's always been showing love. Like every time I would have a show, he would pull up to the show. Like this was before we made any music together. And then he would just pull up to the shows. He would always show love. He would like come in his work uniform after driving for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I was doing construction in the Bay Area at the time, and I jet home, and then I was like, all right, pull up on the homies and watch everybody perform. So it was just, yeah, it was cool to see everybody from the city, you know, doing that. And I would perform in some local bars too, just around town. Shout out to the Running Iron. So anybody from home knows that place. So that was always a really cool place for underground artists. They would give you a little
Nice.
stage time and some like 2 free drink tokens. So that was always super cool. But no, I always thought it was really awesome to see like other young guys and people my age just chasing after this dream, because you know, it's from a small city. It feels a little lonely at the time, you know, whenever you like, where's everybody else at, you know? And so yeah, I think that to cap off on that, it was yeah, it was a really cool opportunity to be able to be a part of something that the whole city is doing together collectively, and you know, it's great to see other talents and network that way.
Absolutely. And if anything, like I feel like if it was not just like picking different periods of time in like different industries or artistic, you know, fields, like there's always going to be little pockets of artists that for some reason they got big together because they got together, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where like you have things
Excuse me.
pop up, and it's like if anything it's almost like I feel like it's a reinforcing type of energy where it's like this whole process can also be very lonely. Like if you can't connect with somebody who has similar interests, it's hard to get motivated or push yourself. And the mere fact that you're able to like collaborate with somebody else, it pushes you as a comedian, as an actor, you know, as a musician, as a rapper. And I'm wondering, like, maybe is that also definitely like that experience that you guys had in that initial like collaborative experience, that's like what pushed the creation of Open Studios?
So Open Studios, it's always been around. Me and my boy AG, which Kevin mentioned earlier, we created Open Studios back in 2015. But for the longest time, it was just us. It was just just 2 people, and we always knew like, hey, like we want to add to Open Studios. We want to become this big, like self-sufficient functioning unit where we have videographers, we have producers, we have graphic designers, we have photographers, we have everything an artist would need in order
basically like structure it as like what a label would provide you, but just being able to do it all on your own with people that understand your sound, your style, what you need, and your vision. And not to cut you off, Shock, but just to add to that real quick, the thoughts in my head. I think that in itself gives longevity within what you're doing. Because I mean, as an artist, finding beats and finding the right style and the right vision and all those things, and even from the engineer's perspective, when they touch a song, like if they don't really understand what you're going for, they don't know how you want your vocals, they're just gonna do what they can. So I think like us mutually knowing one another, our styles and what we want, like being able to have a group where everybody brings, like I said earlier, something to the table, then you're cultivating something where you have your sound. Like when you hear Ibeshocker, you know that, oh, that's Ibeshocker. When you hear Kevvie3TM or AG Lexus or Content, it's like, oh, that's their style. That's what they do. And I don't know that it's that possible to do that without having those counterparts.
Right.
So like with him creating open studios and then adding these things throughout the years, it's just strengthened it to what you said, Josh, which is a good point, is being able to everybody come together for a mutual goal, and that helps strengthen the possibility of taking it to the next level than just pulling off a YouTube beat and then trying to just mix and master it to the best of your ability, which is what I did for a long time. And just known as the guy that could spit bars and like snap on something. And yeah, that's a head turner, but it's like, where's the big production, like anthemic songs with like really good production behind it and engineering and the clarity of your vocals and knowing how to double and layer and do all these great things. And it's alone, I would not be able to do that. And so with me and Shock working together and him teaching me like, hey, this is like adding this will then boom, take it to the next level. Or Content, we have a song that we worked on, No Service in the Hills, which is something I want to drop in February. But that song right there was taken from just like a well put together song. I had the hook, I had everything structured, and it had so much potential. But without him and Shock putting their hands on it, it took it from like, oh, that's a dope song to like, holy shit, like who is this guy? And I think that is the level that you always want to get to. And with what Shock's been able to accomplish with Open Studios has provided that opportunity for everybody involved. And that just takes you leaps and bounds beyond what you would have accomplished in maybe 2 years. We've been able to accomplish in 6-7 months from July when I pulled up. I mean, we finished our collaborative album. I finished a solo album. He's 90% done with his solo album. Content's put out a bunch of songs, like as well as produced a bunch of great beats. And that in itself, you see that growth and you're just like, holy shit, man. You can't not be inspired when you see the homies around you growing alongside of you, if not taking off a little bit further. And then that just stokes your fire to be like, nah, I gotta catch up. Like I gotta keep going. And that mutual love for one another and growth, I mean, what else could you want,
Absolutely.
So I didn't mean to hijack that question. I just felt like that was my piece on it. You feel me?
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I felt the passion as you were explaining it, as you were talking about it. And like, it is rare, to be honest. It is rare to find a mutual support amongst like peers, right? Especially in kind of a bit of a cutthroat type of industry anyways. Like I think everybody kind of has a bit of that experience, but like to be able to get some of your friends and like support group that you could push each other and grow together, that's exciting to hear coming out of like Open Studios. And this is probably like one of the first like full type of EP type of projects that the studios has put out, right?
Yeah, so I did another project called Crossroads. I put that out February 2020, but the amount of growth between that project to this one, the Run on Census project, and even my solo project, like that I haven't even announced yet, is freaking insane, man. And that's all because I have all these people around me that just push me. And we all push each other. Like, Content is one of the craziest motherfuckers I know, man. Like, that fool's like Einstein of music, but he's like, it's crazy. That fool's a genius. He did pretty much all the arrangement and all the like beat cuts and production switch ups and like all the little tiny things that nobody thinks about, but it's like such a huge impactful difference. He did that for our whole like Run on Census album. I would say he even like executive produced it in a sense, because all that stuff really made the songs the way that they are.
Yeah.
Just
go ahead. No, sorry.
Oh yeah. Just before we wrap it up here and everything like that, Run on Sentences is one of you guys' like first EPs that are dual together and everything. every great artist always has a point of view, what they want to get across to their audiences. First off with you, Shock, what do you want audiences to get after listening to that EP?
After listening to Run on Senses, I want people to be like, oh shit, they're about it. Because a lot of the time it was very much like, oh, the boy who cried wolf, like, oh, like I rap, blah blah blah. But then he's like, okay, whatever, right? But now, especially with the moves leading up to this release, I feel like it shifted a lot these past 6 7 months. It shifted from no likes, nobody paying attention, nobody like listening on Spotify or whatever, to like, yo, now finally people are starting to like turn their heads a little, be like, oh shit, you guys are doing something. And I'll get DMs all the time from people and Snapchats all the time from people. They'll send me like videos or pictures of them listening to our songs. And I'm just like, yo, that's crazy. Like it's finally starting to happen. Like I can feel the gears start to shift. And when they see things like the Voyage LA magazine or like Hype Machine, and we even got one of our songs placed in a movie soundtrack for
Yeah.
you know,
as
like,
well as these podcasts and stuff too. These are, I mean, just great for people to see full conversations and get a deeper understanding of these, like the making of, and you know, insight to where our minds are at. Like everything, all of these outlets and everything that we're doing are so pivotal and important for the growth, you know, and very fortunate to be able to do that and have, you know, like you guys care enough to want to dive into the depth of what it took to make these songs, because it's definitely, you know, throughout life have your ups and downs, but to be able to sit down and create a project that can vastly explain everything and the hardships and like the highs and the lows and the balance in between, it's been just an overall pleasure making these songs and being able to make it with one of my best friends, you know, and partner in music where we have an understanding of like the goal, what we want on the business side of things. And yeah, like to what he said, I'll let you go back on that, like just getting placed in these different areas that will, I mean, just it's like more showing and less telling, you know. It's like the more work that we put in, the less that we have to tell people like, hey, I make music. Inevitably with all the place areas that we're being placed, it's like people stumble upon it and then they'll go out of their way to reach out and just be like, hey, I really like that song. Like this song, I woke up today and it made me feel better, or like got me hyped up. And it's like, that's what I like, you know. I always hear artists say that. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing about music is aside from like any of the other stuff, like placements are great, but like hearing from people like, yo, like I love this song and what you said because I've gone through that, or I felt that. And I know it's like a cliche thing that people say all the time, and I've like always thought that too, to like a degree. Like, all right, yeah, of course your music does something for somebody, it's music, but it's like genuinely being on the recipient, like the receiving end of that. It's like it makes you cherish every word that you say and what you do. And I would say that through this album, we've done a lot of that, of just being open and honest about the journey, about the pursuit and success and happiness and what we want longevity wise through this career. And yeah, I was just going to say, I really appreciate you guys for taking the time to let us explain that, and Shock you as well for going on this crazy fucking journey with you, dog.
shit forever, bro. That's the thing. We're way too deep to ever stop. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we invested so much time, so much energy, so much money, so much whatever into this dream. I feel like if we were to stop, it's a disservice to ourselves. That's why like we never will. It's always happening. We're always gonna make music. We're always gonna meet new people. We're always gonna network. We're always gonna, you know, just keep the shit going, because that's what's the most important to us. And like the people that have been reacting to the music has been incredible. Like I was saying, like the DM, like people were saying, "Oh, this is my favorite song." My favorite one I got was, "Hey man, I brush my teeth to your song every." I was like, "Yo, that's so hard."
Oh man, yeah, no, I think what it is as well is kind of like, even though Kev, like I agree, like you do hear it a lot, kind of a bit of a cliche where it's like, oh, just like when somebody says like they connected with it, it's like, or if you put it out, it's like it may seem like it's not as impactful as it is, but really I feel like if you're putting out your own thoughts or your own creation and like you've put out, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position, because like you can and anybody can get insecure about how other people will think about what you say or what your opinion or what your art is. And the fact that you're able to get somebody to be like validating, you know, your pursuit or what you put out there, just into that is kind of, it's a relief, right? It gives you a sense of relief in what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure we can excuse me, we can all relate to that. I mean, you doing comedy, you're taking sensitive topics sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And then bringing light to that situation, and to get a reaction that you're hoping for out of people, like that's got to give you this sense of just like accomplishment, because that's very hard to do, you know what I mean? It's very hard to take something and then explain it to somebody differently, and get them to see another side of that. And Lucas, you were saying before we were introduced about you like the acting audition was like cry and then cry harder, and it's like it's like, how crazy is that to make yourself vulnerable in that moment and draw from emotion to provoke that, and to be able to do that, you know, and embody a role, or just completely put yourself in front of judgment, you know. And I'm sorry, my phone just clicked on me. I think that in itself, you know, it's incredible, and I respect everybody that does any form of art, because the shit ain't easy. And when you get any type of like appreciation for what you do, like it speaks volumes, and it makes you wake up every day and feel a little bit of that success, a little bit of that genuine fuel that gives you that drive to keep going. Because it's like, well, I want to continue to do that for people and continue to bring that type of positivity to myself, you know.
Absolutely. And like I feel Lucas and I like agree, like we're the EP, like Run on Sentences, it sounds great, and we hope more people listen to it. And we're definitely really happy to have you guys here. To end off our podcast, you know, what we like to do is we usually like to kind of dive into maybe a little bit of the psyche of our guests, and we play a little word association game. So we'll see if you know, we're gonna test you guys as best friends, because if you guys get the same answer, that'd be like, you know, that'd be a moment.
All right, let's do it.
Cool.
So you say a word, and then whatever comes to my mind. Okay, cool, gotcha.
Yeah. So I'll start. I've got 10 words, and I'll say my words in a list fashion, and then Kev, like after I say my first word, Kev, you say first thing comes into your head, and then Shocker, you say a word that comes to your head, and we'll try to work this double guess back and forth, because we've never done it. We'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, let's clear your minds, gentlemen, and get ready to just let you're rappers. You guys got this shit.
Gotcha.
All right. Okay, so first word, Kev. Family.
Everything.
Shocker.
Oh, for family, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my mom, my dad, my parents, my family. Wait, it's only one word, huh?
It's kind of like one word, you know, image, the first thing that comes to your mind. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then eventually we'll get into a rhythm of it. Okay, next word. Pineapple.
Pizza.
Wait, did you both say pizza?
I said pizza.
I just said fruit.
Oh, fruit. Okay. Next word.
It does belong on pizza.
You know, it's actually a Canadian. It's a Canadian invention. Pineapple on pizza.
You guys are doing it right.
Yeah. All right. Next word. Rain.
Drops.
Storm.
Alone.
Peace.
2020.
Motivation.
Happiness.
Struggle.
Kumquat.
No opinion.
What'd you call me?
You heard what I said. And, next word. Mountain.
Climb.
Content, because he's from the mountains.
Yes, he is a mountain man. Next word. Tightrope.
Slackline.
Jump rope.
Satisfied.
Success. Orgasm.
And finally, last word for me, ending.
Oh, journey.
Never.
All right. I feel like we're in a rhythm here. Lucas, take it away.
All right. Okay. Stay in that Zen state. Okay. So first word
Gotcha.
of 10. Shook.
Oh, earthquake.
Oh, damn, that was what I was gonna say.
You can say it,
I
dog.
say it.
All right. Earthquake it is. Second word. Decide.
Choices.
Can't.
Content.
The homie.
Yeah, that's the homie, man.
Create.
Music.
Always.
90s.
Ooh, when I was born.
Baby, 90s baby.
Melrose.
Blues.
Yeah, blues, man. Hell yeah.
Nice. Mike.
Check.
Damn, 212.
Yeah.
LA.
Ooh, second home.
Dreams.
Ibeshocker.
The homie.
Me.
And lastly, Kevvie3TM.
Me.
The best, most creative, most inspiring fucking individual I've ever met in my life.
Hey, thanks, dog.
Oh man.
And on such a lovely note.
Yeah. Give it up for
Appreciate
you
you, dog.
both.
Yes. Thank you guys
Hey.
for coming on.
Yeah, Josh, Lucas, you guys are awesome, man. It's a pleasure to sit down and do this. I would say real quick, I hope we could do this again. And the beginning question of have we made it yet is different the next time.
Yeah, man. That's kind of like the idea where it's like we're getting in through like this first round of podcasts with like these new artists and new actors, new comedians, and I think the next round, the second round, it's like there'll be some time in between, and it's like we'll see if we feel like our answers have changed. That's all part of it.
Yeah, I hope so for all of us, man. You guys keep killing it and stay safe.
Yeah, you guys are documenting the journey, man. That's something beautiful for sure. Like
Absolutely.
For real.
No worries. Happy to be able to give you guys a platform. How can our listeners find you? What are your social media handles?
At Ibeshocker, IBE Shocker.
Yeah, mine's Kevvie3TM. Listed on my name right here or wherever I'm at on the screen, but Kevvie3TM on everything.
And same thing with Spotify, Apple Music. We're on everything. I'm pretty sure like freaking or something too. So yeah.
Check out the album Run On Sentences, Ibeshocker, out now, and then hit us up on Instagram. Let us know what you think. DM us. Let's chat. Appreciate everybody.
And like Open Studios as well. You guys have a separate social media for that as well, website?
Yeah.
Studios.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll put a bunch of links in the description below. So whoever watches this YouTube show, this podcast up there, they'll be able to find out everything you're about. And we really hope that they do check out your music and your music videos. And Lucas, just to get us out there, what are your handles?
Everyone can find me at Lucas John Ing across social media. And Josh, where can people find you?
At Josh Yang Comedy, and similarly, my second podcast, Sleep with Josh, is also out there. So if you guys want to find that,
awesome.
So also, of course, if you like what you've seen, like what you heard, you want to support more, artists sharing their experiences about making it. If you're somebody who's passionate about something and you're thinking about doing it, come listen to our podcast at HWMIY podcast across social media, YouTube as well. Like, subscribe, follow to hear more about everybody's different journeys and see where these guys are at in a few months, in a year. Who knows?
No doubt.
Great. Perfect. Well, thank you, Ibeshocker and Kevvie3TM for joining us, and big ups. That's not, nobody says that now, dude.
Hey man, nah, big ups to all of you. Nah, we good. We
I don't know.
rocking.
I don't know why. That was like the first thing that came up. Is like, did I just date myself? Did I just age myself? It's like big ups. I don't think I've ever even said that. It's just anyways, we're excited about it.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
No doubt. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Lucas, Josh, you guys take it easy.
Feel free to listen to it before release too.
Absolutely. All right, great. Thank you guys, and yeah, we'll see you next episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Right
guys.
on.
See you later.
See you.